3D printing has been around for a while now, but it still gets a bad rap as a way for crafty people to make knickknacks and other junk and sell it on their Etsy shop. Although that can be the case, there's a whole other side of 3D printing that gets overlooked, and to me, it's the biggest selling point of them all. And no, I'm not talking about printing hand cannons. I'm talking about practical uses for situations where you need something very particular, and maybe it's not even available for you to buy. Or even worse yet, Jeff's 2-day delivery just isn't going to be fast enough. Perfect example can be taken from my CNC plasma table. There's always a little bit of water left in the waterbed when I drain it because of this. The drain has a lip on it, so the water can't fully drain. Frustrating, isn't it? I could just ignore this very minor detail, but that's just not good enough for me. What I need to do is dimple the bottom of the water pan so that the drain sits flush and will completely drain. I could buy a dimple die set and have it in 2 days, but there are 2 problems with that. 1, I am broke. That plasma table wasn't cheap. And 2, the available profiles aren't quite what I need. Here is what the standard dimple die that I can get off the internet will do. And here is what I need. So I drew it up in Fusion 360, sent it to Cura, and after 12 hours of watching this, it was done. These parts were printed 80% solid plastic, so that it would be able to take the abuse that's about to come. The astute among you will recognize that that means this part is 20% hollow, of which its store-bought counterpart is solid steel. Will it hold? I don't know. Maybe? Before I gave this unproven piece of plastic a try on my beloved plasma table, I figured it was a good idea to test it out on some thinner sheet metal. That way I could work out the kinks before stepping it up to the big leagues. I picked up some 26 gauge sheet metal, which is considerably thinner than the 20 gauge stainless steel water pan that I would be working up to, and I cut a 1-inch hole in it. I assembled the die and gave it a little lube to help with the lubiness. After all, I suspect the plastic is going to resist sliding a lot more than a steel die would. The moment of truth. Will it work? Or will it crush like one of the many beer cans I had laying around at this point? On attempt 1, it started to work pretty good, right up until the point where I sheared the threads right off of the all-thread rod that I was using. I didn't expect that at all, but it's okay. We're still learning. I thought about using a hydraulic press to finish this off, but then I remembered. I don't have one, because you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Now's your chance. I tried beating on it with a mallet since I don't have a press, and well, that just didn't work at all. On test 2, I figured I should use an actual bolt. Gotta be stronger, right? So I dug through my bucket of bonus bolts to see what I had laying around. That should do it. Now let's try this again with a new 1-inch hole. Time to let it rip with an actual bolt. Should be much stronger. As you can see, this time the die completely closed, and I think we may have actually done it. This attempt went much better, but I'm not stoked about this wrinkle. I assume it's because I dimpled too close to the edge. So I tried again, away from all the edges, for one final chance at glory. I think we've really done it this time. Removing the die for the third time, I saw that glorious result. A perfectly dimpled hole in a piece of scrap sheet metal. When I proudly dropped the drain piece into that newly dimpled hole, I realized something. I'm not as smart as I thought. It's unfortunate. Since the metal stretches under the pressure of the impact gun, so does the 1-inch hole that I started with. The hole is now 150 thousandths of an inch bigger than when it started. Although I didn't anticipate the hole getting any bigger at all, I definitely didn't expect 150 thousandths bigger. That's more than 1/8 of an inch bigger, just from the pressure of this thing squeezing down on it. That's crazy. Of course, if the hole got any bigger than it did, I was going to have a real problem in that the drain wouldn't fit anymore and wouldn't seal. But I decided this was going to be okay as is. Now that I've tested my 3D printed Dimple die against 26 gauge sheet steel, do I dare try it on my beloved plasma table's 20 gauge stainless steel waterbed? I do. I dare. Just as before, I assembled the die and gave it an extra splash of the good stuff for good measure. Let me be perfectly clear here. If this fails, I will have broken my perfectly working plasma table, of which I need to fill orders. No pressure. Here goes nothing. Have you ever tightened something real tight and then it gets real loose? That's what happened right here. The thread sheared off of a bolt. This might be the absolute worst case scenario. The threads were so mangled I couldn't even back the nut off, so I had to cut it off. That's an easy enough fix, but what damage am I going to find? What a relief. The dimple is shallower than what I wanted because the die didn't close all the way. But at least this is a usable dimple and I didn't cause any damage to my plasma table. I told myself I'd order a higher grade bolt and finish the job off, but we both know I'll probably just call it good. I of course reassembled the drain and gave it a test, which proved it was working as I expected. So what's the verdict? I give the 3D printed plastic dimple die an A, since after 4 tests it shows no signs of wear at all. It's actually really impressive. The steel bolts, however, those get an F for shearing multiple times and making me so sad. Average those two scores together and this project gets an overall grade of a C. Since C's get degrees, that's good enough for me. Thanks for watching. Is it off?